Hello, Patriots, praying citizens, and truth seekers. Today is Wednesday, September 19th. It's a good day to look at some Q posts. We have some kind of fishy ones to look at too, which I'd love to have your comments on. I will say these are Q posts that I do not agree with, and this is only the second time that Q has posted something that really troubled me in my spirit. But I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Just put your comments below if you would. So 2210, we're going to be looking at some of the key players in this inspection of the Department of Justice and hopefully the end of the work of the dirty players there. We'll look at where we are with the declassification of the documents that Trump wants revealed, and also the circus that is the Supreme Court nomination confirmation process for the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. So let's start with 2210. Q says, how about a nice game of chess? I.G. Horowitz, Justice Department speech on whistleblowers. So let's take a look at that, which is from yesterday's Q posts. And this was recorded by C-SPAN. He is speaking on National Whistleblower Day to the Department of Justice employees, and he says it's so important for you to come forward and report on waste, abuse, misconduct, and mismanagement. He talks about overseeing, he has 475 people working for him, and they're overseeing 100,000 plus people, plus contractors and grant recipients. He said, we need you at the DOJ to be willing to come forward, speak to us. You're in it because you want to see justice done and government work effectively, not people lying and cheating and stealing taxpayer money. Make sure you don't get retaliated on for doing so, and that's their job to do that. And he says it takes courage to speak truth to power. So then Q takes us to this document here, Meet the Inspector General. He was hired in April of 2012, confirmed by the Senate, and it talks about his job is basically to detect and deter waste, fraud, abuse, and misconduct in the DOJ. And he has also been serving as chair of the Council of Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency, an organization comprised of all 73 federal inspectors general, and that's important. Q says, quotes from that article, since 2015, he has simultaneously served as the chair of the Council of the Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency, and that's what I just read you. And then he says, think yesterday. Yesterday was when James O'Keefe began revealing some of his videos where he was secretly recording people in the Department of Justice and the State Department. These are people that are truly seditious people working against the president, doing campaign work while they're working for, as a paralegal in the Department of Justice, this one woman, and talking about how she is part of the resist movement, and they try to do everything they can to not allow President Trump's policies to go forward. One woman talked about how she delays ending people's, she's supposed to take certain people off, or there's a list of people that's supposed to come off with food stamps, and how she delays it so that they can get their food stamps longer, even though these are people who have been found to not qualify. It's pretty sad. So if that was what was learned yesterday, and then also in Horowitz's speech, he talks about Robert Storch, who is going to be handing over this chairmanship, who's going to be receiving this chairmanship job from Horowitz, and he was confirmed in 2017, December, as the IG for the NSA. He is the first presidentially appointed IG for the NSA, and he has a Department of Justice background. He was federal prosecutor in the New York District, or in the Northern District of New York, chairman of the Council of the Inspector Generals, it should be Inspectors General on Integrity and Efficiency, and he served in several positions at the Department of Justice's OIG, including as senior counsel, acting deputy IG, Again, and then this working with the whistleblower group. So this part is important. He has helped establish this program that's widely seen as leader in the field. And then he was posted overseas for 2 years. Let me go to the next slide. As the Department of Justice resident legal advisor in Ukraine. So all this is really important because these guys are experts on finding waste, fraud, and abuse and all this criminality. And then it talks about how this group is comprised of all inspectors general whose offices are established under Section 2 or Section 8G of this act, and those that are presidentially appointed or Senate confirmed, and those that are appointed by agency heads. And then he takes us over to here, this purpose and establishment of this group to conduct and supervise audits and investigations, provide leadership and coordination, and recommend policies, to promote economy, efficiency, and effectiveness, to prevent and detect fraud and abuse, to provide a means for keeping the head of the establishment and the Congress fully and currently informed about problems and deficiencies. How might this benefit possible ongoing investigations across intra federal agencies? Huber, and then double arrows Horowitz, double arrows Storch. U.S. Attorney or prosecutor, double arrows DOJ FBI Inspector General / kind of investigator, double arrows Signals Intelligence, SIGINT, and Information Assurance, IA, Products and Services. Okay, we're going to go to the next slide. This one talks about Attorney General Jeff Sessions appoints Utah U.S. Attorney John Huber to leadership position as member of the Attorneys General Advisory Committee, and this is from last November. He appointed 9 new U.S. attorneys to serve 2-year terms on the Attorney General's Advisory Committee of U.S. Attorneys, and Huber is the vice chair. Okay? So that was that right there. And then NSA has been pushed since the beginning. Logical thinking. The experts. Now he's describing what all the experts, the analysts, all the people, the bright minds are saying. And this is all in opposition to what Trump is doing. And the experts would say that Sessions should appoint a second special counsel in the D.C. area, which is the corrupt swamp. And that would mean that he would have to gather his grand jury from the corrupt swamp where 90% of them voted for Hillary Clinton. And he says that the second special counsel should be appointed because unlike the Clinton email corrupt case, as demonstrated by the FBI and DOJ people fired and removed, this will be conducted faithfully and honestly, like Mueller, which is wrong. And then another accusation would be that Huber has not directly interviewed several witnesses, therefore the appointment of Huber by Sessions, and therefore the IG is not genuine. And then another accusation, but Sessions and Huber are following standard DOJ open and ongoing investigation policy by not discussing, making public, so therefore nothing must be happening. And then the outcry is fire Sessions. Trump's too smart for that. He is doing things behind the scenes that we know nothing about. All right, we're going to go to the next one. And then more accusations of nothing to see here, Again, Huber, he has the ability to prosecute and impanel a jury outside of D.C., and they already began the investigations late last year with an assigned team of 470 investigators and attorneys, plus the IG, plus legal jurisdiction across all 50 states, is not a special counsel, therefore nothing's being done. But POTUS is attacking Sessions via Twitter, so therefore he's not working on behalf of the people's interests or POTUS's interests. The Democrats and the left love and trust Sessions, and that's important. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are so many FBI and DOJ senior officials being fired and or removed from their respective positions of power? Who's the AG? Sessions. Who must sign off on each removal? Sessions. Is the DOJ in charge of the FBI? Yes. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are there 50,000 plus sealed indictments across the U.S.? What percentage of the U.S. versus X? Coincidence versus Huber start? But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are many powerful CEOs, members of Congress and Senate resigning? Coincidence? Example, before POTUS did the Speaker of the House indicate wanting to leave politics. But interestingly, if nothing is being done behind the scenes, why are human trafficking arrests surging? Nothing to see here. I have a bad number up here. Let me just take this out because it's not 10,000, it's 1,000. Nothing to see here. Q. Okay, so that's a lot of sealed indictments. I still can't wrap my head around that. Okay, then 2211. RR, or Rod Rosenstein, attempts to stall the declassification and or redactions have failed. So that's something that let's look at. And then Q says, got popcorn, enjoy the show. So here's what we have. And I'll catch you up if you didn't hear this week. So on Monday, the president came out through his press secretary, and he has an executive order demanding that all elements of the communications related to the Russia collusion investigation be declassified. That includes the hidden pages of the FISA application that they used to get a warrant to spy on Carter Page, who's a Trump aide, all FBI reports of interviews from the Russia investigation, all related text messages between, most of these are former FBI or DOJ employees, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and Bruce Orr. In a late-breaking announcement on Tuesday, 4 Democrats sent a letter warning the Director of National Intelligence and other agency heads not to comply with the president's order to declassify until they meet with the House and Senate members who have oversight. Okay, they're scared and they're trying to just, they're pulling out everything they can. They're threatening. So here's a summary of what we know, and I'm basically getting this from a lot of different sources, especially one that Q posted, which is an article by legal analyst Greg Jarrett. So the documents in question have been requested for months by Congress under lawful subpoenas, yet stonewalling by the Deputy FBI Director Rosenstein continues. Classification of intelligence documents is supposed to protect secret sources and methods. In July, when a substantial portion of the spying application was revealed, the same outcry was heard. National security was being put at risk. But that wasn't true because none of this stuff was protecting secret sources and methods. There were no vital sources or methods exposed, but we did learn that the application was based on an unverified phony dossier funded by Hillary and composed by a former British spy who was fired by the FBI for lying. In other words, a warrant was obtained because top officials at the FBI lied to the FISA judges that there was compelling evidence. In February, a memo was declassified. It was written about the Russia investigation by the Republicans on the House Intelligence Committee, and it did not contain any material that justified being classified in the first place. But, according to analysts, the memo made the FBI look bad. So, Jarrett says 2 laws were broken. The first one is they were hiding and covering up misdeeds, which is a violation of an executive order signed in 2009. And who was president then? Oh yeah, Obama. And then number 2, federal regulations require that evidence of a crime must be proved before beginning an investigation. So therefore, when Special Counsel Mueller was appointed by Rod Rosenstein, he shouldn't have been because there was no evidence of a crime. So we're going to see that this whole thing is a witch hunt, and that's why they don't want it to come out. And we have every member of the mainstream media screaming that, Trump is violating policy and he should never do this and he's going to put national security at risk. But when did you ever hear of a reporter complaining about too much information coming out? And then you've got Adam Schiff saying, the president violated a red line that should never be crossed. Okay, baloney. So that gives you some background there. And then on 2212, and I think I have a bigger picture of this, we have Trump putting this tweet out: "The Supreme Court is one of the main reasons I got elected president. I hope Republican voters and others are watching and studying the Democrats' playbook." And then this post is there: "Narrative shift." This is from the end of January. "Nation on alert. Firing RR equals block Mueller. Firing RR equals set up to firing Mueller. Firing RR equals the red line." So here's this red line that everybody's afraid Trump is going to cross. What was the Senate confirmation vote on RR? It was almost unanimous. Why did he beg Paul Ryan, to block the FISA memo from congressional review and further advancement? Because his name's on it. Real time. This is what happened in real time at a SCIF, which is a secret room, where they top secret stuff is looked at. As a SCIF on D.C. Capitol Hill. You had 7 congressional members, 3 senators, and 2 former Obama senior officials, plus 4 outside contractors who don't have classified, top secret, or sensitive level clearance. Top secret clearance is mandatory for admission into a SCIF. How is that possible? We see you, Q. Okay, and then he had us look at this tweet from In the Matrix. Q alert 9/18/18, Q 2207, 3:57 p.m. New playbook needed. We see you, Q. All right, and then Q says, "Do you believe in coincidences? Think of context. Nothing to see here." All right, let's take a look. Let's see. Hang on a second. All right, let's take a look while we have some time here with this, what's going on with the Supreme Court Confirmation Circus. So Brett Kavanaugh was accused last week in an anonymous letter of sexual misconduct in high school when he was 17. On Sunday, the accuser came forward alleging he was at a party drunk and tried to take off her clothes and rape her. She also said he would have killed her if another boy didn't intervene. The accuser is college professor and researcher Christine Ford. She's a Democrat donor and leftist who has not been able to corroborate her story. In other words, she doesn't remember the details of the party. She doesn't remember the year it happened. She says she was 15, or where it took place. She admits she was drinking at the time. Kavanaugh said he categorically and unequivocally denies the allegation. He said this: "I did not do this back in high school or at any time." A classmate named in Ford's accusation is Mark Judge. Ford says that Judge and Kavanaugh were stumbling drunk and corralled her into a bedroom. Then Kavanaugh tried to rape her, but Judge intervened. Judge also strongly denies the accusation, calling her story absolutely nuts. Then a second man was named. He was called PJ, which is Patrick Smith or Smythe, and he also denies being at the party or witnessing any such event. Kavanaugh was investigated by the FBI 6 times since 1993 for various appointments, and no such allegations resembling Ford's claim have ever been discovered. Okay, well, it turns out Senator Dianne Feinstein, the Democrat of California, held on to the letter written by Ford since July 30th. She met with Kavanaugh and questioned him thoroughly last week, never mentioning the accusation. She also met with him privately over the summer, and as did other senators. Never mentioned it. She's only released a redacted version of Ford's letter, and senators are calling on her to release the full version. Then we have Judicial Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who's trying to, run this nonsense and make something happen here and get this guy confirmed. And he said that although his office has contacted Ford 3 or 4 times by email, this is on, I think he said this on Tuesday, inviting her to testify on Monday, September 24th, she has her choice of an open or a closed setting. He had not heard from her, but then later in the day, her lawyer sent him a letter stating that she would not appear. She had received death threats. Her email was hacked, and she and her family were forced to move from their home. Ford's lawyers then said she would not be appearing before Congress until the FBI finished a full investigation of her claims. The FBI says it will not investigate Ford's accusation because it considers the matter closed. If a crime was committed, the statute of limitations has run out. Trump would have to direct the FBI to investigate, but so far he seems disinclined to do that. And now Ford has until Friday morning, according to something that was released later today by Grassley, that she has until 10 o'clock Friday morning to respond to his offer to testify Monday. All right, and if you didn't know, she had a social media presence. She also had a bunch of comments on her page at Palo Alto University, I think it is, or University of California, Palo Alto. I'm not real sure which one, but anyway. And students didn't like her, and they said she was dark and unprofessional, the worst, lacking appropriate filters, and mad. She also had stuff on social media. It was all scrubbed immediately after she came forward. And the Democrats are hypocrites because Karen Monahan, who is one of their own, forget the stuff, the women, don't forget these women, but, they don't seem to care that Bill Clinton's raped and assaulted dozens probably of women. Okay, well, what about, because that was a long time ago too. Okay, but what about now? They've got this lady, Karen Monahan. She has accused Keith Ellison, who's deputy chairman of the DNC, of assault. He has 2 domestic abuse allegations by former girlfriends, including Monahan. She recorded the abuse on her phone and called 911 on Ellison in 2017. She also went to see a doctor, and she has reports proving she'd been assaulted. On Monday, she tweeted she had been smeared, threatened, and isolated from her own party, the Democrats. She told them about the abuse and who did it. They have not responded to her. Ellison, on his part, says he never behaved this way. They won't do anything about this, but they've got this witch hunt on Brett Kavanaugh that's completely baseless. Okay, moving on to the next set of Q posts. So we've got 2213. He says castle lock. I don't know what that means. 2214, panic in UK, panic in DC, panic in UK, panic in DC Q. And we know that the UK did a lot of spying, and they were very heavily involved in this Operation Crossfire Hurricane trying to entrap Trump associates. Then Q announced he was doing a Q&A. And the first question is Trudeau, anything? And then he says owl, meaning part of the, Moloch or Satanist cult. And Q responds, billionaires 187. I don't, that's that number that they use in police reports to mean a murder. I don't know. 5I, so Canada's part of the, international swapping of intelligence between the U.S., Canada, England, New Zealand, and Australia. Then he says safety house build, U1, uranium-1, funneled to Canada and then to X, Q. Very cryptic. The next one, 2217. Then this is Michael Flynn. It's a little meme. It says loading. And then question, Flynn exonerated soon. Q says, in the end, all will be right. Patriots protect patriots. 2218, sexual misconduct is the public shelter to accept resignation. Watch those announcing 2020 presidential running. You cannot attack a political opponent. None are protected, none are safe. Q. Okay. Then we had a request from Q to the board owner to divert more resources and bandwidth to the board. And then someone asked Q, was the Pentagon hit by a plane on 9/11? And Q says yes. I'm calling, I want a second opinion on that one. I don't agree with that. Then we have 2221, are we alone? Roswell. And he says, no, highest classification, consider the vastness of space. I have my own disagreement with that, but I mean, I'm sure most of you, well, many of you have let me know in the past that I'm full of it, and we're just waiting for the aliens to descend, and I have my own theories about that. Then 2222, was moving the date back on the POTUS FEMA presidential alert significant? So we were supposed to have an alert tomorrow from the president on everyone's phone, some sort of a communication from him as a test, and then Q responds, due to Kavanaugh confirmation push, hand in hand, RR stand down due to K confirmation. And 2223, asking for a resource upgrade because there's extreme lag. Okay, and then this one, 2224, Q, did NASA fake the moon landings? Have we been to the moon since then? Are there secret space programs? Is this why the Space Force was created? And he says false. Moon landings are real. Programs exist that are outside of public domain. Okay, you all probably know what I'm thinking about that one. Okay, so if you hadn't seen the posts from yesterday, I'm going to go over them. Those of you that have already seen these, this may be redundant, and then we're going to pray at the end. So if you want to stick around, I'll do these quickly. So 2205 was about the memes, and he had warned us that Facebook was using a program called Rosetta to try and ferret out memes that they wanted to suppress or censor. And he said, do you believe in coincidences? The fight is real. The time is now. And then another article showed us how to deal with memes so that we could get past the Rosetta and other programs. And it was pretty simple, and it was in a couple of different articles. And then he also posted this, define projection, DS panic is real, deep state panic is real. Hillary Clinton tweets, Donald Trump refuses to be subject to the law. The legitimacy of our elections is in doubt. The president is waging war on the truth. The administration is undermining the national unity that makes democracy possible. And then there's the breathtaking corruption. You mean your own Hillary? Okay, and then he goes on to this Wired story about QAnon, conspiracy, Facebook, meme, AI. And he says, think about real-time Q tracking. September 10th drop regarding memes, non-NSA ability. September 13th and 14th. 2 article drops regarding Facebook memes. September 16th, 2 article dropped, highlighted, and then he gave examples. And then the Wired article on memes and Q, the war is real. And then this Washington Post article, the power you have is real, fight, fight, fight. And here is from the Wired story, QAnon is trying to trick Facebook's meme reading AI. I thought that was pretty cool that they wrote about it. And of course, it's a very big story that detracts from everything, but this was the key right here. But 8chan success in spreading QAnon suggests that targeted harassment is merely one of the ways they can inflict real-world damage. Namely, they can represent a political force that can craft resonant narratives and push them through major social media networks into the mainstream. They sometimes half-jokingly refer to their community's combination of intense focus and tech savviness in the pursuit of real-world impact as weaponized autism. But it's more than a joke. It can drive national conversations. Listen to this. On January 19th, users of 8chan's Q Research Board were rallying fellow QAnon believers for a day-old digital canvassing campaign. The campaign's participants, who were anonymous to everyone, including each other, had specific ambitions and goals. All right, remember that was the hashtag release the memo, get it to trend on Twitter, and get the Nunes memo to be a major point of discussion in the media. And so then he kind of this writer describes what happened here, and then here's the result. The overall hashtag release the memo campaign, of which 8chan Anons played only a part, was wildly successful. An analysis by the social media intelligence group New Media Frontier found that hashtag, that movement from social media to fringe media to mainstream media was so swift that both the speed and the story itself became impossible to ignore. Success. 2206, couple of tweets. Eric Holder, this is an especially dangerous abuse of power by this president. He places his self-interest above the national security interests of the country. And then Eric Swalwell, lawless. He's absolutely lawless. At Real Donald Trump is the subject of an investigation. Using his power to selectively release classified information is an abuse of power. His days of unchecked abuse are numbered. TikTok, we will just mark this as another exhibit. Abuse of power, reminder, is the Hussein executive order, of which they're all guilty, and the laws that they broke. And then he puts a part of that executive order reminding us what it says, that they are not allowed to conceal violations of law, inefficiency, or administrative error. They're not allowed to classify things to prevent embarrassment, to restrain competition, or prevent the delay of release of information that does not require protection in the interest of the national security. Obama wrote these things. Sleep no more. The American people and others around the world are awakening. Panic, game over. Then from Schiff, President Trump has intervened again in a pending investigation by ordering the selective disclosure of classified materials he believes to be helpful to his defense. The DOJ and FBI have previously informed me that release of some of this information would cross a red line. Okay, and then we have a repeat of this post. I apologize for the dogs. I don't know what's going on. Okay. And then it says, the DOJ and FBI have previously informed me that the release of some of this information would cross a red line. Declassify FISA, Rod Rosenstein, force. Red line, new playbook needed, we see you. So this again was 7 members of Congress, 3 senators, 3 former Obama senior officials, and 4 outside contractors without clearance meeting in a skiff at the D.C. Capitol. Okay, 2208, Truth to Power, listen carefully. That was that speech by Horowitz I went over at the beginning. And then Greg Jarrett saying, if Rod Rosenstein defies Trump's order to declassify documents, he should be fired. Q says, goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. So this is from Greg Jarrett's article. Rosenstein has every reason to suppress the records. They may incriminate him. He affixed his signature to the final renewal of the FISA warrant application to continue spying on Carter Page. He vouched for the authenticity and veracity of the information contained therein. But if it was largely based on a dossier that was unverified and uncorroborated, Rosenstein may have been complicit in misusing his position of power in pursuit of a president who was wrongfully targeted by the FBI and DOJ. While Schiff is notorious for hyperbole, his assertion of a red line is rather stunning. Does it mean Rosenstein and Wray will defy the president's direct order and continue to obstruct lawful subpoenas issued by Congress? If so, they should be fired for rank insubordination. You know, something just occurred to me. It may be that Q in this Q&A, the stuff, some of that stuff, he might just be doing misinformation because he's told us in the past that it is necessary, and they're probably just not ready to talk about 9/11 yet, or the moon landings. You know, NASA lost all the footage from the original moon landing. I don't know if you know that. You know, how do you lose the footage from the moon landing? Okay, so we're going to pray. Thank you all for sticking around, and I just want to read these couple of scriptures. The voice of rejoicing and salvation is in the tabernacles of the righteous. The right hand of the Lord does valiantly. Psalm 118:15. And I think of the Lord Jesus riding in on a horse as a knight in shining armor with his sword drawn, and righteousness is going to be the result. He's going to cut away the evil, and righteousness will be left. And then Hebrews 4:16, let us therefore come boldly into the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. And so, Father, we come boldly before you right now. And I just want to pray for Brett Kavanaugh. Father, I know that if he's able to sustain himself in this time, it's because you're there and you are holding him with your righteous right hand, and he's rising above it. I pray for his daughters and his wife. What a horrible thing for them to have to face. And we just pray. I pray for this Christine Ford. I mean, possibly she was assaulted and she just doesn't remember who did it. She's confused. I don't know. But Father, I know that you hate lies and you hate false accusation. You hate false witnesses. Not them per se, but you hate what that action does when someone brings forth a false accusation. And I just pray, Father, in your righteousness, you will deal with all of this, and that we will soon have another Supreme Court justice. I also pray, Father, for the complete exposition of everything that these people are trying to hide. Bring it into the light, Father. Let the light of truth shine on it, and let it be blinding. And all those who love the darkness, I just pray that they will just be decimated by it. Thank you for everyone who listens and watches, and for all those who pray, Father. And we join our hearts together. We are the body of Christ, and we put ourselves before you and ask you to lead and guide us in the way that we should go. I pray all these things in the mighty name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen, and I will see you all next time.